Have you ever pulled out a stencil and wished that you had the same pattern in an embossing folder? Well, wish no more. I'm going to show you how you can use that stencil to dry emboss. Every technique video is narrated live while I'm doing the technique, so you're getting a real-time view of how the whole process works. Pull out the supplies I'm using and create right along with me, pausing as you need. Before we get started, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel. I appreciate it. This process is really simple. I think most people are hesitant to try it because they just think it isn't going to work. So I have a few tips for you that are going to help you get some amazing results when you want to emboss with a stencil. So this is just a plain old stencil. It's just the same thickness as most industry standard stencils. Nothing special about this. I've got my plates ready to go for my Gemini, and this is the sandwich that I use. So I have my acrylic plate that comes with the Gemini, and then I put down my magic mat, or you can use any kind of self-healing mat. These all work really great. All right, so I'm going to put this down, and then I'm going to put down a piece of cardstock, and I've got 3 different kinds here that we're going to try. So let's start with the most obvious. This is just a piece of green cardstock. It's like an 80-pound cardstock, nothing special about it. I'm going to spray it with some water though. So I'm just going to spritz one side and then spritz the other. This is going to help loosen up the fibers and allow it to pull into the stencil. And it also helps stick on my magic mat a little better. So I'm going to put that down. And I'm going to put my stencil on top. So right now our sandwich is typical, right? We've got our acrylic plate, our magic mat, our cardstock, our stencil, and then you can go ahead and put down your top plate and run this through. I do like to add an extra shim though, and this is just a Mylar shim. You can use a piece of paper, you can use whatever you need just to get a little bit of extra push through your die cut machine. And then I'm going to pop on my top layer here. I'm going to go ahead and run this through and see what our results are. All right, so let's take a look at what we've got here. And we've got a beautiful result. Look at how the embossing turned out on that. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's a nice crisp impression. And even though it isn't very deep, it does have a lot of drama going on with it. So this is a really great look. And so this is just with plain cardstock, and we can get a really great result with that. So let's take a look at 2 other kinds of cardstock that you can use. I kind of feel like the thicker the better, because you're going to get a slightly deeper impression as you go. So this second piece of cardstock that I have here, this is watercolor paper, and this is 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. So just your standard watercolor. And again, I'm going to spray it with some water, just 2 quick mists. I'm going to follow the same process. It's going to go on my magic mat. I'm going to put down my stencil. I'm going to put over a shim and my top plate. So there's my finished sandwich, and I'm going to run it through. All right. So again, we're going to get a really great look here, and this is watercolor paper. So now we can watercolor on top of this and create some really amazing looks. And again, we get a really nice impression. It might be slightly deeper than the cardstock. And remember, this is 80 pound. This is 140 pound. So this is a little bit thicker. And we still get that same great look, some really, really great embossing going on here. Nice and crisp. All right, so the third piece that I have, this is a specialty paper. It's kind of thick and spongy. It is Crane's Lettra, and it is 100% cotton. It's got a lot of uses. I like to use this a lot for letterpress though, so for that debossing look, which is kind of what's happening with the stencil. The stencil part itself is actually debossing into the paper, and then the rest of the paper is pushing up through those empty spaces. So again, we're going to do the same process. I'm just going to spray both sides and put it on my mat, put on my stencil and my shim and my top piece. And again, we will run this right through. All right, so that is run through, and let's see our results. Okay, so there we go. Again, a nice, beautiful, deep impression. It looks about the same as the watercolor paper. Again, slightly deeper than a traditional 80-pound cardstock, but still absolutely gorgeous, and will be totally stunning on a project especially because now I can use this to emboss instead of just stenciling. I can combine the two. I can put my stencil back on top and do some stenciling over those areas. I can go ahead and watercolor on top of this. I can die cut it. There's so many things I can do with these panels now that I have them done, but they're absolutely gorgeous and just another great way to use the stencils in your collection. I hope you enjoyed this technique and you add it into your toolbox sometime soon. When you give it a try, share it out on Instagram and tag me at NicoleWattCreates. I always love to see what your creative mind is thinking. Thank you so much for spending a little time with me today, and until next time, happy crafting.